Pornography is one of the greatest, but at the same time most overlooked, problems of the modern world. If you're skeptical of this, keep listening, because today we're going to be exploring exactly how pornography destroys your mind. Firstly, let's look at some basic statistics. Since the expansion of the internet in the early 2000s, exposure to pornography has reached levels never seen before in history. 25% of all daily web searches are pornographic. The average age that most people first see pornography is 11 years old. Children under the age of 10 make up 22% of online porn consumption for those under 18. Keep those statistics in mind, because we're going to go over how much pornography can damage an adult's mind, let alone the developing mind of a child. Like many of those watching, I was exposed to pornography at a young age. When I, as a teenager, researched the effects of pornography use, I was told by many websites that it was simply harmless and would have no negative effects. But the truth is, there are well-documented and scientifically verified negatives to these habits, and porn organizations go to tremendous lengths to either hide or downplay these things to the general public. For the purposes of this video, the term pornography use refers to individuals watching or masturbating to pornography, and citations for all of the facts presented here will be available in the description. The way pornography attracts and hooks viewers is by exploiting the body's dopamine response to sexual stimulation. This natural response is intended to make humans seek to reproduce, but pornography transforms it into a desire to view more pornography. This is why, as the phrase goes, sex sells. It's why so many people become hooked on pornography for years, if not their entire lives. The effect of dopamine from viewing pornography is very similar to the dopamine effects of addictive drugs such as methamphetamine. Advocates for pornography like to argue that it's simply natural to view it, but there's never been anything natural about masturbating to two people having sex on a screen. Before diving straight into pornography's effects, we need to investigate how it went from something illegal to something that can be accessed from every computer. Most modern people are under the illusion that pornography is an eternal fact of life, an ancient, perennial aspect of human history. This perception is a result of carefully curated propaganda and marketing campaigns that have been orchestrated by extremely wealthy and powerful people. Pornographers and their cohorts have scoured and harvested the past for anything and everything that depicts or comments on human sexuality, bastardizing it all with no regard for its original intent or purpose. Pornhub even used the Venus of Willendorf, a 25,000-year-old fertility goddess idol, as evidence of vintage, so-called pornography. In reality, pornography is a relatively new phenomenon, barely 200 years old. During the initial underground rise of pornography, most Western countries had anti-obscenity laws in place prohibiting the production and distribution of pornographic or obscene materials. Less than 100 years ago, those producing pornography would be thrown in jail. Similar laws are still in place in many countries in the world today, and in fact, pornography is currently illegal in more countries than it is legal. After the end of the Second World War, Western obscenity laws were gradually broken down, largely through the collaborative efforts of liberals and Western Marxists. These attacks on obscenity law coincided with attacks on the concept of race and gender. Denmark was the first country to officially legalize pornography in 1969, and other Western nations soon followed suit. To this day, the sexual revolution of the 1960s and 70s is championed by the mainstream as one of the most so-called liberating acts of emancipation in human history. In the US, pornography was legalized primarily via two Supreme Court cases involving a pair of pornographers, Roth v. United States and Miller v. California. In layman's terms, these cases rendered obscenity laws obsolete by loosening the legal definition of obscenity to the point that it became meaningless. The legalization of pornography took place under the Warren Court, which also outlawed state-sponsored prayer in schools and laid the foundation for the legalization of abortion, contraception, sodomy, and same-sex marriage, among other things. Of course, invalidating obscenity laws went against the will of the American public and government, but the courts and multiple NGOs ensured it happened all the same. In the modern day, online porn is dominated by a single, highly secretive, monopolistic company, MindGeek, which owns a variety of major publishing and production companies, including Pornhub, RedTube, YouPorn, etc. An even more socially damaging aspect of modern pornography are websites like OnlyFans that are targeted towards young women and encourage them to become self-employed amateur porn stars. With the breakdown of society accelerating particularly in the last 10 years, these so-called sex workers have their paychecks filled by lonely, sexually starved men, both young and old. Some might call these men simps. The simp and the porn star have perhaps the most unhealthy mutual relationship in the entire online world, where each views the other as simply a means to a nefarious end. Now, it's critical to note that without the pornography mega platforms and the mass marketing campaigns behind them, most people doing these things would have never gone down that path. This is especially apparent when you see teenage girls making OnlyFans accounts as soon as they become 18. And while we're on the topic of the porn industry, let's delve a bit further. Pornography websites are rife with abusive and inhumane videos, human trafficking, pedophilia, rape, sex slavery, and bestiality. In late 2019, a man was even arrested for posting pornographic videos on Pornhub of him raping a missing teenage girl. Pornhub had monetized the videos until public outcry forced them to stop it. But even afterwards, similar cases continue to happen. It's gone to the point that the site has earned the nickname Trafficking Hub due to how many human traffickers post and get monetized there. On websites like Reddit, community managers from Pornhub encourage users not to report illegal activity on the website to the FBI. There are many more stories about companies like this out there. They are evil.